Hello and welcome to today's Trigger tutorial. Now today I'm going to talk to you about audio device drivers, which is really specific to people who are running Trigger on Windows machines. Then I'm going to go on and talk a little bit about audio routing, so how you can change the way your channels on your audio files are routed to the output channels on your audio hardware. Now when you first run Windows or run Trigger on a Windows machine, you will notice that it will default to WDM up here, which is Windows's default device manager for audio hardware. And you'll need to check, if you're using WDM, that if you go to environment options, sound devices, that the buffer refresh period and size is set to a sensible figure. You want to get this down, the period and size down to as low a figure as you can without your audio actually breaking up on your system. However, if this figure's too large, then it will impact noticeably on latency. So when you play an audio button on Trigger, you'll notice some latency before that audio is heard. I usually find setting this at about 40 or 50 milliseconds. The size should really be a factor of the buffer period. I find that works quite well usually, but it will vary from system to system, so that's just a matter of setting that by trial and error. Again, once it's set, Trigger will remember those settings and use it from then on in. However, if you choose to use ASIO, which will give you considerably enhanced latency performance, then you can go to the ASIO configuration page, and you'll see on this page the ASIO drivers that I have available to me on my system. Today I've actually got this FCA 610 audio card attached to my system, and so I'm going to set up an ASIO configuration for that. Again, this is a once only sort of procedure. Once you've set up your ASIO configuration, you won't need to do it again. But in order to use ASIO, you have to specify what audio buses you want to have and the width in terms of channels of those buses. And the way we do that on Trigger is, you can see here are the physical hardware output channels that are attached to my system here, and I have the options of adding audio buses and assigning them to these outputs. So for today I'm going to add a stereo bus, and now you'll see that stereo bus 1 is going to be assigned to my first two outputs from my hardware. I'm also going to add a 6-channel 5.1 surround bus, and so that you can see now that bus is assigned to the next 6 channels of my audio hardware. Trigger gives this configuration a default name, so I just click on save to save that configuration, and then finally I just need to tick the use ASIO box, and this tells Trigger that I actually want to use this ASIO configuration as opposed to my WDM setup. Once that's done, I click done, and you'll see in the top right hand corner where it indicated WDMs, it now says ASIO, and that confirms that I am using ASIO drivers on my system. Now I'll talk to you a little bit about routing the audio channels on the WAV files or audio files that I have in my Trigger project to the audio channels on my hardware. Now if I right click on the tag section and bring up my button properties form, you can see that the output for this particular track or this particular button is assigned to the first ASIO bus that I added, which is stereo bus 1. Now this is slightly different on Mac machines in that Macs will always see the total number of channel outputs that the hardware is able to provide on their system, and these will be visible on the routings page. For now, being on a Windows machine, I just see the 2 audio channels of my stereo bus 1. If this was a Mac machine and say I had a sound card with 8 channels, you would see all 8 channels down here at the bottom, and you would route your various channels of audio appropriately as you required using this screen. And the way you route these channels is I can show you by right clicking on this node, and I can remove these paths. Right click, remove path, and if I simply drag from my audio channel, which is the left hand channel here, I drag it to route it to output 1 or channel 1 of this stereo bus, and I can likewise do the same, drag and drop to route from the right hand channel to the right hand channel of my hardware. By right clicking on these nodes, I also have the option of changing the level of that particular connection or path. Now if I go back to my audio page, and again this is applicable really to Windows systems, if I now click the surround bus, this is the surround bus that I just added. If you recall, when I was configuring my ASIO, I configured one stereo bus and one 6-channel surround bus. I'll now select that surround bus and go back to the routings page, and you'll see that now all 6 channels of that surround bus are available here. And so I could, for sakes of argument, set up a simple little upmix from my stereo source file to my 6-channel surround bus that I'm using for my sound card. And I would do that by dragging and dropping the left hand channel and the right hand channel to my center bus. I'll maybe reduce those to 3 dBs. In this instance, I'm not going to add anything to my LFE channel, which would be channel 4, but I'm going to add the left channel to my left surround and the right channel to my right surround. And so here you have a simple way of doing an upmix from a stereo audio file to a 5.1 surround bus. And now simply click done, and now those changes are implemented. Okay, I hope you found today's tutorial interesting and useful, and I hope you have the time to join me for another tutorial some other time. Thanks for watching. Bye.